Good evening and welcome to Conversations with the Candidates, brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Houston Education Fund and Houston Media Source. We're going to be talking to two different candidates for two different offices in the Democratic Party tonight. We're going to be talking to County District Clerk and County Clerk. So we're going to start off with the District Clerk. Our first candidate is Marilyn Burgess. She is a certified public accountant, a certified association executive, and a certified chamber executive, and has deep experience in both public and private accounting. Her community involvement includes serving on the Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast Finance Committee and a board member of Jane's Due Process, among others. Welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you.
So what do you see as the primary responsibilities of the District Clerk's office, and how do you intend to fulfill them if elected?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thanks to the League of Women Voters for this service that they provide to help get voters informed about their choices that are coming up on the March 6th primary ballot. I think it's very important that we have an informed electorate, so thank you for that service. The District Clerk's office is one not many people are familiar with. Most people are most familiar with the fact that the District Clerk is responsible for the jury summonsing process. So if you get called for jury duty, it's coming from the District Clerk's office. And they call in about 150,000 potential jurors every year. So that's one of the main duties of the District Clerk's office. But beyond that, the District Clerk is responsible for maintaining the past and current records of all the court cases in Harris County. They're also responsible for putting a court clerk in each one of those courtrooms to record the actions of the court. And they collect fees and disperse fees for settlements from court cases. They maintain a website. In Harris County, all family and civil court cases are required to be filed electronically. We no longer use a paper system. Currently, we're in the process of converting the criminal courts to electronic filing as well. That transition could be painful. It's going to take a lot of education, a lot of hand-holding, and to bring us forward into that paperless world. But that's something that is being undertaken as we speak. I look forward to doing the work of the District Clerk's office. I think there's a lot of room for improvement there, and I feel like I have the skills to bring to the office to do that.
Fantastic. So how would you improve the way that the District Clerk's office reports public data, like you mentioned, such as information about criminal court dispositions, evictions, or fraud, and what potential comes with those improvements?
Okay. The primary customer of the District Clerk's office, if you will, is litigating attorneys and judges. They maintain the website where you can access all the court filings. There are, the general public can access some areas of the website and look at different filings, but there are many protected areas where you have to have a PIN, an account set up in the District Clerk's office to access everything. One of the issues that I'm running my campaign on is that website. I'm told by a lot of attorneys that it's down a lot, that there's a long delay between the time you post a filing and when it appears on the website. I'm told that PIN numbers frequently don't work, and when you call in for help, that can take 2 to 3 days to get the issue resolved. And if you need access to files, you need it today, not 2 or 3 days from now. So that's something that needs to be addressed and made better. I'm also told that there's a lot of inconsistencies in the coding where you indicate what type of case you're filing. The codes may not always fit. I've heard that they're told, well, just pick one, it doesn't really matter. But then you go to a different page and it's got different codes. So there's a lot of room for improvement on the website, and that's something that would be a top priority in a Burgess administration. Great.
What are some of the ways that jury service could be improved, and what are some of the barriers to making those improvements?
You know, that is another priority of my campaign, is the jury summonsing process. Currently, we have very little representation of minorities on our juries. And if people are going to trust the judicial system, they have to have a jury that's truly made up of their peers. Houston is one of the most diverse cities in the nation, and a jury should reflect that. If you're an African American facing an all-white jury, you don't feel like you've got a jury of your peers. So that needs to be addressed. I have committed that I will work with the community leaders in the minority communities to help increase minority participation in jury service. but that alone is not going to address the issues. When I am called for jury duty, I have benefits at work that allow me 3 days of jury service, and I continue to get my regular pay. Some of the lowest level people or lower level paying jobs don't have that benefit. And so if you're working a $12 an hour job and you don't get paid if you're not there, jury service can be a financial hardship. And so that's something that's got to be addressed and looked at as well. Currently, we're paying jurors $6 a day for their service. And if you park in the right location, you get discounted parking, which is $6. So you actually get no pay for your service whatsoever. And if you're counting on a paycheck that's going away because you're serving on a jury, that is a hardship that we have to address and look at ways of getting around that. So those are some of the issues, but it's really important to me that we have a jury that's truly reflective of the diversity of Harris County.
That makes sense. Please describe a little bit about your background and how that makes you qualified for the job of district clerk in Harris County.
Okay. Well, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I grew up the child of two parents who both held elected office when I was a child. My father served in a role in Louisiana that's similar to a county commissioner here in Harris County for 12 years. My mother went on to be mayor of our little bitty rural community later on in life. She held that job until the day she died. They taught me that it's important to give back. It's important to be an active participant in your community and work for the betterment of the community. And they taught me values of how important it is that we maintain Social Security and how important a strong public education system is. And those are things that I carry forward. I am a certified public accountant, as you mentioned. I have nearly 40 years of management and fiscal experience, and I bring those skill sets to the table. The district clerk's office has one of the largest budgets in the county with a budget of about $35 million and employs about 500 people. But some of those people aren't being paid a living wage. The lowest level clerks are starting out at $13 an hour. I was visiting with one of our sitting JPs this past weekend, and he said in his court the lowest level paid clerks are paid $18 an hour. So if a JP's court can do that, why can't the district clerk's office do that? I think the department is currently very top-heavy. It's got low morale and high turnover, and those are some things that I would address. And I believe that if you're a full-time working Harris County employee, you need to be paid more than $13 an hour. But where I developed my true love of public service was when I was executive director of the Texas Parent-Teacher Association. It's a statewide membership organization of over 750,000 members. And when I was there, I was advocating before the state legislature and the State Board of Education for issues that were important to me and to the PTA, issues that were related to the health, education, and welfare of children. And I got a real charge out of the fact that I helped pass legislation that made our world a better place and made things better for children. I worked on children's health insurance program when it was first being introduced in Texas. I fought against vouchers for years. I helped to pass a graduated driver's licensing program where it doesn't mean now that when you turn 16 that you can go drive anytime, anywhere you want to. It's a graduated licensing program, which I believe saves many lives. So that contribution to our community was something that I enjoyed being a part of, and I feel like it's important for us to do. So I bring those skills. I believe I have the necessary skills to lobby before the Commissioner's Court to get the resources I need to properly run the department, to pay the people a living wage. I want to bring diversity to the district clerk's office. Currently, you see very little minority participation at the top levels of the district clerk's office. You have a high percentage of minority participation in the lower level paying jobs. We need to extend that and get some diversity at the management table.
Well, that's great. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we take a break?
I believe I'm the only one of the 4 candidates in the Democratic primary who has experience running a large organization. As I mentioned, I manage the Texas Parent-Teacher Association, 750,000 members. The job of district clerk is an information management administrative function. I've been a business administrator my entire career. I know how to do lobby to get the resources I need to do the job right, and I believe I'm the best qualified among the 4 of us.
Great. Well, thank you for coming on our program, Marilyn, and it's good to see you, and we'll be right back with our next candidate.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Welcome back to Conversations with the Candidates, brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Houston Education Fund and Houston Media Source. We're going to shift gears to County Clerk now with a Democratic candidate, Nat West. Nat is the first African-American graduate of Stephen F. Austin University and has professional experience leading voting precincts, educational programs, and homeless veterans initiatives. Mr. West has also served as the president of his civic club and his PTA, among many other community positions. Welcome.
Thank you, Jeff.
What do you see as the primary responsibilities of the county clerk's office, and how do you intend to fulfill them if elected?
Well, first, let me say thank you to you and the League of Women Voters and this Houston channel. The office of Harris County Clerk is a pretty big job that requires a coordination of a lot of people, a lot of diverse people from all walks of life to do basically 3 things. One is record keeping, filing, paperwork. Usually anybody can do that well if they file it in such a way that anybody can access it. And that's one of the reasons I'm definitely in this. There are people who say, I know my papers are there, but how do I get them? And the third thing, duty and responsibility, in addition to filing and maintaining paperwork so that people can access it, our county residents, is voting. The Harris County Clerk is the chief election officer in Harris County. And of course, Texas has 254 counties. It is the direct responsibility of the Harris County Clerk to have a good relationship with the Secretary of State. Now, that's the must, but a good Harris County Clerk also has a great relationship with civic clubs, with schools, with organizations, with fraternities, with sororities, but also with people who go to the washateras, people who have discussion groups at tabletops, people who do their nails, and last but not least, those people who don't have transportation and are at the bus stop. The Harris County Clerk also, as we'll be doing real soon, rides herd over early voting. And we say early voting gives us quite a number of days to do voting wherever we might be and not necessarily in our home precinct.
Fantastic. What would you do, to your point, as the county clerk to ensure an accurate vote count and a transparent auditing process?
Well, one thing that all of us can do, and I like to say we and us, to me, it's the office and it's plural. So if I go there, I want you to know that I'm a team player. Being in education, being in the school system, being in the U.S. Army, I have always asked people to, well, biblically lean not on thine own understanding, but administratively it means do something so that you won't have to touch it twice. Now, if it's one person and you do something, be certain that you have somebody to review what you did. And don't hide anything. Be certain that if something goes out or goes in, somebody else can say, oh yes, I looked at it. Now, whether it's in the office filing, whether it's maintaining filing systems, whether it's servicing people who say, I want a copy of that, whether it's giving the voting clerks, everybody who has anything to do with the voting process, you tell them that if somebody wants to watch, and that's called a poll watcher, if whatever you have, whatever you are doing is accessible, whatever you are saying can be heard, then things are going to be all right. Basically, in short, don't hide anything. If you have something to hide, you are definitely going to have a lot of people who want to look in that direction. My record is one of, and we don't have props here today, but I have an example of what I have when it's time to conduct an election. That is, instead of these little small pieces of paper that you might need a microscope to see, from my own pocket, I enlarge papers. Right now, the present county clerk says this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Nathaniel West, who is your humble servant, will enlarge things. If somebody says, I'm not sure what you're doing over there, they won't say that with me as county clerk, because again, everything is going to be enlarged.
That's great. How would you improve the way the county clerk's office reports public data, such as deeds, marriage licenses, or election returns?
Well, right now, we can do a much better job. Now, you have a piece of paper in front of you, and we have a piece of paper that's supposed to be a record. In fact, for every precinct judge, election judge, who turns in his or her paperwork, that record is threefold the way things are now. One is there's something on a piece of paper on the voting machine. And of course, we'll just be doing that one more time. Then there is something that is electronic. And the presiding judge of the election has his or her copy. But I just said something about paper that for everybody who is listening to me, they will say, that paper fades. So what does Harris County have now? It has a fading system. In fact, I'm not even sure if the county clerk right now has given instructions to those who conduct the elections on what to do with their records or where to put their records. Or I'm wondering, for those records that the county clerk, the present county clerk, keeps now, where are they? Who maintains them and who looks at them? And of course, if anybody's looking globally and listening to television right now, and this thing about, can I say the word Russia? With my background as a command sergeant major over 13 states in heartland America, I was not the least bit surprised when somebody said that we had been hacked. The present system that we have, especially in Harris County, and this is a big county, it's in the top 5 on planet Earth. But right now, our present office of Harris County Clerk has parts, for the most part, that don't come from the USA. I want to say the word China. Most of them come from China. We do not have a backup system right now in Harris County. Now, I'm saying some pretty strong words, but I am empirical. I say measure, check it. If anything goes wrong with our voting system right now, there are probably less than a half dozen companies on the planet who make backup parts for voting machines. Now, of course, the present county clerk has people who go around on election day saying, I have a piece of paper and I want you to sign that I came by to see you. And each one of those persons typically services, is it 6 or 7 voting precincts? And that person with the present county clerk has one spare voting machine in the trunk of the car, and that person with the present county clerk tells you, I want you to sign this paper to say I came by to see you. And of course, if you ask, do you know how to operate the machines? The answer is no. If a part breaks down, do you have a spare? The answer is no. And of course, I've said the facts. The facts are, on the planet, for Harris County, there is not a system of backup parts. Now, of course, America and the Secretary of State can shoulder some of the responsibility. But with Harris County being number one, numero uno in Texas, by God, I want Harris County to be the best. I want a county clerk, and that's me, Nathaniel West, to say, I'm going to get a request for somebody to start a company. And I don't want us to lose out this time. We need somebody to start a company that makes parts for our voting machines and also backup parts. Right now, the thing is, when the machine breaks, the machine is dead in the water. Now, I said quite a bit there, but who does that? For the most part, and I hope the youngsters out there are listening, and I hope the elderly, that baby boomer group. Now, I said 2 words, because in the back of my mind and my philosophy is for our baby boomers, those born between 46 and 64, and our millennials, those 18 to 35, we have a good team. And why do we have a good team? Because those youngsters 18 to 35 know a lot about parts. Now, they don't know about the glory of voting, and that's where I come in. That's where I come in saying, in this office of Harris County Clerk, from the lowest ranking person to the highest ranking person, we will be able to articulate that vision that says nobody can hack in on our voting machines. Now, I'm saying quite a bit about voting. Voting is what gives us leadership. And whether somebody likes the present leadership or if they think we can do better, my thing is put your best foot forward. Now, going back, who is best with machines? And the machines that we will be using, although we call them machines, they're really dedicated adding machines. They don't do anything sophisticated. I want to do a call for somebody to make some better voting machines. I want to do a call for somebody to say we have some spare parts in Texas. I don't want Texas and Harris County to miss out on any other big company that can locate here. I want to make that clear. Our voting machines stink now.
Well, I think you make a very fair point. I have about 5 minutes left, and so I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your background and how that qualifies you for the position of Harris County Clerk.
Okay. Nathaniel West has a professional administrator's certificate. If you look just on the Democratic side, and I'm not even sure if my Democratic opponents showed up tonight, you will see that I have already done successful leadership for 186 voting precincts in Harris County. And I think that's probably a pretty good OJT to ride herd over all 1,600 of them. But I've also given professional executive leadership to 13 states in America's heartland as a command sergeant major. And I hope some of my people in uniform who are listening to this program understand what a command sergeant major does. But I've also made some pretty big decisions with United Way of the Texas Gulf Coast, dealing with budgets and dealing with the allocations of funds for United Way agencies. Of course, I've also worked with something that I'm proud of. And although I'm running on the Democratic ballot, I will say that there's a good lady named Barbara Bush who helped me a great deal with junior achievement. I've done quite a bit in doing something, and I stepped out on faith. I made the statement that every high school senior in HISD who was in junior achievement would receive a junior achievement scholarship. I did a couple of other things. The biggest March of Dimes Walk America right now in Harris County takes place on the campus of the University of Houston Central Campus. Before I retired, I'm the guy who was there doing that. I've done quite a number of other things, but those are the basics. And do I love getting out the vote, registering voters? I've been doing it in virtually every population you can think of, from my hometown of Nacogdoches, Texas, when, because my printing was so neat, folks asked me to help register voters. When I lived in a trailer park at 10,810 Telephone Road, folks called us trailer park folks, but we got out the vote. When I was living in suburbia Friendswood, and the Friendswood JCs got together, and we elected a congressman, well, Bob Gamage. We showed how suburbia can work together. And now, I just finished a stint with probably the greatest voting precinct in America. It's precinct 390 at Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, where that team does whatever it takes to get out the votes. Now, I wasn't able to show some of the photos of some of the people from all the years, but everybody at Wheeler Avenue knows how to do everything that I know how to do, because we are a team. And I want to bring that teammanship, that working together, that Democrats and Republicans and Libertarians and Independents saying, let's register voters. Let's get out the vote.
It's an inspiring note to end on. We have run out of time, but Mr. West, thank you for joining us. I think that's a great wrap-up of your points tonight. And for those of you watching at home, stay tuned, and we'll be back with more candidates for Harris County District Clerk next.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back to Conversations with the Candidates, brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Houston Education Fund and Houston Media Source. I'm here with our last candidate of the evening for District Clerk, Rosalyn Shorter. Rosie. Rosie is a graduate of UH Downtown, where she earned a degree in criminal justice. Her community experience includes co-chairing Houston Cares and volunteering for the Children's Defense Fund Freedom Schools Initiative. Rosie served as the chair of operations and logistics for Senate District 13 Convention, as an Obama for America caucus trainer, and was elected to represent her district as a Democratic National Committee woman at the Texas State Convention. Welcome, Rosie.
Thank you.
So, you're running for district clerk.
Yes.
What do you see as the primary responsibilities of the district clerk's office, and how do you intend, if elected, to fulfill them?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me here, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for having me here as well. The district clerk office is mandated, constitutionally mandated, to maintain all of the court records, the registrar, and things of that nature. But most people are familiar with the jury pool selection process, which is why I'm particularly running for this seat. Because in Texas, particularly in Harris County, the jury pool is generally selected, what should I say, when you go through voir dire. The jurors are predominantly 85% Caucasian, which actually violates the Sixth Amendment. It says that you should have a fair jury, a pool of your peers. And so 44.9% of Harris County residents are Latino, 19.2% are African American, a little over 31% are Caucasians, and then there are others. That is not a fair cross-section of the community. And so when we look at things like Black Lives Matter in our country, and in Harris County in particular, this is the entry point to ensuring that we have an open, fair, and expansive jury pool selection process. And I plan to do that by ensuring that I petition the legislators to ensure that we can get a multiple source list, as opposed to just utilizing the two lists that we currently use, which is the driver's license and identification, as well as the voters' registrations. There are multiplicity of lists that we can utilize, like other states do, and I think we should do that, being the fourth largest county in the U.S. in Harris County.
That's great. How would you improve, and I'm going to ask you more questions about that in a moment, but how would you improve the way that the district clerk's office reports public data, such as information about criminal court dispositions, evictions, or fraud?
Wow, have you actually seen that website and how they're actually doing that now? I think I'm not in agreement with how they're doing it currently. I think there may be some security issues with how things are taking place with that information, because a lot of people have access to it. Currently, a lot of attorneys and just people outside public does have access. Understanding the IT department, having a little knowledge of how that works, I think that it takes some internal looking into. Being on the outside, not actually working in the district clerk office, I'm not privy to a lot of that information. So for me to just say, oh, I'm going to do this and do that, I better watch my hands, I'm moving too much. For me to say I'm going to do all of these things would be misleading to the public on how to do that. That is something that it would take for me going inside. And I have tried to ask a lot of questions, but you get pushback when you are on the opposite side of the table. So for me to tell you that I'm going to do all of these things about changing that process, or what I really think, because I'm not an attorney and I don't have to interact with it, but having logged in, have a number, seeing the information that I'm personally privy to, I think that those are some security challenges that's there.
That's good points. So what are some of the ways, you mentioned about jury service.
Yes.
What are some of the ways that it can be improved, and what are some of the barriers to those improvements? You started talking about them earlier.
Yes, so understanding that what the challenges are. Understanding that currently we only have two lists that we utilize. And so if you're thinking about increasing a minority and a diversified pool that reflects what's happening in Harris County, if you're looking at conviction rates, if we're talking about the criminal side of it, then we're utilizing two systems that generally that get rid of African Americans or Latinos, or minorities, should I say, people of color. African Americans and Latinos have a high rate of mobility, so those lists are not accurate with that. If you're looking at voter registration or voter lists, if they don't live in a certain place, then they can't get their voter registration card. So those lists automatically knock out those people that need to be in the pool itself. So it's my job and my responsibility to ensure that we get more lists, and that takes lobbying the legislator to get that, going to Austin and making sure that you have an excellent, awesome legislative aide in your office to ensure that they're making sure that that happens for you. Partnering with the district judges, because they're the people that say how many jurors that you're going to need for the jury panel and things of that nature, and just having conversations with internal stakeholders to say, how can we do that? What do you think those best practices are? And so that's what I plan to do day one. I am a capacity builder. I have experience in that, and so I've been in leadership for over 20 years. I've been in management for over 18 years, and so nonprofit management as well as private practice management. So, I mean, being able to forge those relationships with the powers that be, should I say, I think we will have a healthy conversation and being able to move that process. And then the other thing is awareness. It's important that, I mean, if you think about it, and the reality of it is most people run away from jury duty. Or should I say, I don't want to call it, it's called jury duty, but I would like to call it jury service, because it's our civic obligation to ensure that we show up to give back to the people that need us to rule on their cases. For me particularly, I am wanting to ensure that we have an educated process and having jurors come into the jury summons room. If you go now, you'll see, and let me just share this with you. I've been to jury duty 9 times in my life. I've not been chosen for a jury. I was struck out of a grand jury once, and I've been to 2 grand juries, and then I've been to regular jury duty service 9 times. Being in that room, it's just like you're there. You feel like it's a waste of your time, and I didn't want to feel that way. It costs a lot of money to go to jury duty. I'm fortunate to be able to have a great job where, you know, I'm paid enough where it offsets that cost, but a lot of people are not. And you want people to come to jury service and feel like they are actually giving back something. You want it to be comfort. You want to have people to be able to have internet access, which we do now, but of course, well, let me just say this, we did prior to the flooding. Now they're at 1001 Preston, so they're underneath in the basement, which is, they're twiddling their thumbs and they're looking at a blue screen. There's no interaction. The customer service level entering into that is not there. So there's a multiplicity of things that can be addressed, and that certainly needs to be addressed day one going into that. And I have those leadership skills. And I believe, and let me say this, leading, not managing people. Leaders, being a visionary, and that's what I am. That's what I pride myself off of. I have a proven track record of doing that. So
that's great. So please describe a little bit about your background and how that qualifies you for district.
So I guess I would say which part of my background, because I have a vast background. I hold a private, commercial, and instrumentation pilot license, so I'm good with navigating through things, should I say that. I have over 10 years of nonprofit management experience. I have been challenged with modifying 4 budgets over $5 million each. I am a proven leader. I currently have international and local experience in customer service relations, and that's what's needed. This job requires for leadership, it requires people to be able to get in and interact with the employees, not just because it will operate by itself. It needs a leader to ensure that the directors are directing, that the managers are managing, and that the team leaders are leading the staff and leading the charge to ensure that we have accuracy in our documentations, the electronic filings, and things of that nature. And there's a lot of pushback that comes with that from the clerks with the attorneys. And so I want to ensure that proper training is implemented, that our attitudes reflect our jobs and what we do, and the diversity of Harris County. That's important.
Fantastic. And is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap for the evening?
Well, I would like to ask you, may I have your vote, first of all? And I'd like to ask the residents of Harris County to vote for me. They can always go and read everything about me at www.rosalynshorter.com. I am ready to serve day one. I think I am the only candidate in this race that has a proven track record, not just in the public sector, but also in the private sector, in the community of Houston and Harris County, leading the charge and starting the first Obama office in Texas, having the privilege to work both on President Obama and Hillary Clinton's campaign, both nationally and locally. And my plight is to ensure that we're not forgetting the employees. of Harris County because it's important. They need a raise. And it's my job to petition the Commissioner's Court and deal with the local unions to ensure how we do that to get those employees so that we increase the morale there. And at the end of the day, we look at the big picture. If they're happy, the court system continues to work like a clock, that intricate detail that's important because the district clerks are the ones that move the process in our court systems. And that's important to me that I am looking out for the people, the employees of Harris County.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for joining us at home. You've been watching Conversations with the Candidates, brought to you once again by the League of Women Voters of the Houston Area Education Fund and Houston Media Source. We're doing a whole lot of these interviews over the next few weeks leading up to the primaries. Remember, register to vote. You have only a few more days left if you want to vote in the March primaries. And tell your friends to vote. And watch this stuff on YouTube, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you for joining us.